everybody, and welcome to the I Rock Knits podcast, where the working conditions at Santa's Knitting Workshop are beyond tolerable. I'm being forced to wear this fleece poncho, and I'm knitting my fingers to the bone. I had a craft project go terribly poorly, and I have 3 projects still on the needles that need to be done by tomorrow and Monday and Wednesday. So this is going to be a podcast on a Saturday afternoon because we're going to relatives' house tomorrow and relatives' house on Monday, and I'm going to be up all night. I hope none of you feel sorry for me. Anyway, welcome. I'm Corey Eichelberger, and this is the hot mess that is Christmas at the Eichelbergers. I had 4 parties this week, 3 of which I hosted. Saturday night, 20 people, my husband's work. Tuesday, a small group of library knitters. Thursday, a large group of friend knitters. And Wednesday night, my husband's boss's party. So I'm partied out. I'm completely done, and we haven't got to Christmas yet. So I have a little bit different show for you today. We're going to do mittens. We're going to talk about all the mittens, and I have put Christmas wear on the mannequins. I'm going to be doing a change of costume because this thing is really warm, and we're going to kind of plow on ahead to kind of have a fun episode here. I will try to still get it uploaded for all of you on Tuesday. Nobody's going to be sitting home watching knitting podcasts, but maybe after the holidays you'll have some time to watch this and I'll make you laugh. So 2 things that I forgot to mention on the last podcast that I felt really badly about were a friend on Instagram has sent me a set of patterns to give away, and I didn't say anything about it. And I had printed off the contact sheet, and I had already edited and uploaded the entire podcast before I remembered. And as you know, we have a new cable in the neighborhood. Yes, several people came down to tell me that they were digging on Tuesday just up the road, literally digging under driveways and putting new cable in, which we didn't think would necessarily happen. So fingers crossed for fast upload speed this week. But last week's took another, 21 hours. I just let it go overnight now and hope it doesn't fail. And I couldn't go back and add this little bit in. So Bee Bopper Designs, KTB38 on Instagram, KDB, is a newer designer that I had not met, and she sent 4 quick knit gifts from a pattern collection that she's putting out. The dog just bumped the camera, so sorry about that. We're plowing forward. She put out 4 quick knit gifts that 1 pattern came out each week, and then there will be another one coming out. So I printed some pictures to give you some information. These are all quick and were meant to be knit by Christmas, and now none of you can knit it, even though, well, you can knit them, but you can't give them as gifts. Although maybe some of you are holidaying after the holiday, doing gifts and things like we are at my house. So Florian, which is the first one, is this cute little hat. Okay, and then came the Lumi hat, and then came the Rumble Mitts, and their sweet KDB. And then the last one will come out on December 23rd, and it is the Pronto Cowl, and it uses 1 skein of thick and quick or super bulky yarn, so it would be a really fast knit. She has generously given me a collection to give away. Now in December 31st, if you are on it by watching this podcast and you go over to my Ravelry group and put your name in to win this set of 4 patterns from KDV, I will draw a random name on the 31st of December and gift it for the new year so that you will have a set of 4 patterns in your Ravelry library. So I will do that. I will announce the winner on the next podcast, but I will do it on the 31st at supper time. So 6 o'clock or so Central Standard Time. Okay? Please go out and sign up for that because she did a lot of work to have 4 patterns come out in December and then gifted them to me and a whole set, and I forgot to do it on the last podcast. So then, do you remember when I talked to you about the website that was scamming designer sweaters and kind of stealing their photography and putting sweaters out there. Well, a dear friend, a watcher of the podcast, got in touch, and she had gotten taken in by that scam. So she sent me pictures of what she thought she was getting and what she actually received, which she did get something in the mail, and I had said maybe wouldn't even get anything. But this is the sweater that she thought she would get. And this is what she actually got. There's a little glare there. Put the pictures in so you can see it. So what she got was kind of a button front cardigan in a kind of lightweight material, probably a cotton, and it was just screen printed on, which I'm sure they do not have in the description on the website that this has been screen printed. But I asked her if I could share this with you, and she said that I could. So she said lesson learned, and I just want to put it out there. Another scam went out last week. I saw people talking about it, so just be wary. That was really all my intent, was just to let you know that that was happening, and that, you know, people were really being ripped off. I mean, the designers are being ripped off too, but they haven't lost anything because no one's giving them a beautiful sweater. They're not, you know, yeah. So if you wanted to actually knit the sweater, you're still going to buy the design from the pattern. It's just that their photography is being stolen, which is sad in and of itself, right? Like, I don't agree with that at all, but I'm just saying. Okay, so let's move on. Several things that are on my list to talk about today, and the first one is Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel podcast. If you are a podcast viewer or are behind on episodes, you need to go listen to Amy's last episode. She could certainly use some of our thoughts and prayers, I think. It's hard to get medical news that is not always positive at this time of year, and she's still doing some testing. It's her story to tell, but I just want her to know, and I want to pass the word to all of you, some of who I know are people of the praying kind. So then so many of you have Christmas decorations. You have Santas, you have snowmen, you have all kinds of things, and some of you don't like to put it out either. And then others of you don't put it out. So I got a really funny response to the Santa story and showed you a little bit of the crazy that is Santa's at my house. So thank you for responding and letting me know how some of you feel about Christmas decorations. And then several of you were confused by a statement that I made on the last podcast. The fact that I have sock tubes to put heels and toes and cuffs on does not mean that I have a sock knitting machine. And I was not clear about that, but I have a friend who has a sock knitting machine, and she cranked me a bunch of tubes for Christmas last year as a gift. And I think I've only taken one pair off the whole spool and gotten them done. And it's just because my family right now is pretty good on socks, like nobody's blowing any out. And so and she did a few Christmas ones. So that's what I'm hoping to do here over the Christmas holiday, is get some of those done. And then I can show them on the podcast. Especially if I do that sock podcast. I did not finish my audiobook this week. I had listened to a couple podcasts, and so my audiobook kind of got put on the back burner, but I am listening to The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a really good story. It is about Eleanor Roosevelt's desire program to have a traveling library in some of the rural areas in the eastern United States. It is based on kind of a true situation, but then I'm sure most of these characters and stuff are fictional, but I'm just really enjoying it. I have about an hour and 45 minutes left, and it's just not going to happen today or tomorrow. So I thought, well, I'll just tell you what I'm reading. Some of you gave me some great recommendations for audiobooks that you've been listening to. Please go out to that thread and add those on that list. I always add to the top of the list the books that I have read since I started the podcast that I have talked about. So if you want just a big list that you could print off and then go look over on Goodreads or Audible or whatever, however you get the library, that list is there, and you could just copy and paste it, and it would give you, we're 35 episodes in, and I've talked about books for quite a while. So you'd have quite a list there. And then the thread is not super long, maybe 4 or 5 pages. So it doesn't take too long to scroll through and see if anybody has read things that you have read, or start a conversation with someone who's actually read a book. I noticed that the Toad Hollow ladies are doing a book club for next year. They picked a book for every month of the year, and then they're going to have yarn associated with it. I wish I would have known, because I would have offered to do a design with some of those yarns, but too late now. But so I'm thinking about looking at their list. I looked at the list yesterday, but I'm thinking about writing down their list and seeing if I can add those books to my monthly listens. So I'm a lot better off if I turn off the TV and just listen and knit, instead of always watching things that I don't necessarily love. When I'm in a series, I'm all in. Right now, what did I start watching? Oh, The Crown. I'm doing The Crown right now. And so then I'm all in for watching all the episodes of that, but I do like turning it off and just listening to my audiobook. So those are kind of the things that I needed to check off my list. Me not being clear about some things, and then as well as wishing Amy Beth some good juju, some good thoughts. So you never know what people are going through and what they might have going on in their life. And so at this time of year, when we're quick to temper because our packages don't arrive on time and our distribution center gets all messed up, which is what happened in my neighborhood in the last 2 weeks. Oh, people are so angry, right? The UPS men are delivering until 10:30 at night, and people are running after the trucks down the street and being mad at them. Not their fault. They're just the delivery guy, right? So gentleness, a little kindness can go a long way this time of year. Yeah, because one of those men is in a bad way at home, right? Something's going, women. My sister-in-law delivers for UPS this time of year. So, we just maybe be a little nicer. Put a little treat in your mailman or your UPS's man's, They could use a hat or a cowl or a bag of cookies, even if they're store-bought, right? Something on their route, stick it out there for them, and with a little note. I usually try to give them a little gift card, something to the grocery store, or something that they could, definitely use, because you don't really probably want to put, it doesn't really matter, but you don't really want to put cash in your mailbox. So I don't, but I don't know why. Somebody could steal that just as easily as they steal the gift card. Okay, so I have got some Christmas knitting in front of me that I'd like to share, because I found a couple of patterns that I found really interesting. So the first thing that I knit is for my niece, and these are the complimentary knits by Telly Bean Knits, and one is pink and purple and one is purple and pink. Isn't that cute? Isn't that a cute idea to have that like that? They're called complimentary knits. And they turned out a little small. My gauge was a little tight. I'm using Cascade Eco in the giant skeins, right? And so I had so much that I thought, I'm going to just make her a little matching cowl. So I just cast on and knit it, on the bias, decrease on one side, increase on the other, purl back. Same stripes to match. So she'll have a little stripy cowl. I may write that up at some point. It's so simple, and then here's the hat. This is a prototype for an upcoming design. Had a little kerfuffle on this is called a, what is it, Vickel braid. And so I was learning it. And I was making some mistakes. And since this has to go on her head as early as tomorrow, I didn't have time to go back. So it got a little crazy, but you know what? And I put a giant pom-pom on it because I have so much yarn left over. And that'll be the cute part. So she's getting a little set of 3 things. I knit for these kids every year. They are now turning 11 and 12. My niece and nephew, they were both oopsie babies in my family, 2 of my brothers who have older children. And so they're too big. I can't knit sweaters for the rest of their lives. I just finally decided last year was probably the last year that I could knit, because they're starting to get into kind of adult smalls, and it's a boy and a girl, and that's just a lot more knitting, and it's always at this time of the year when I'm crammed for getting stuff done. Okay, I'm going to reach down. The next hat that I put on the needles was one for the nephew, and then when I got about halfway in, I decided it was too wild. I think he's wild, but I'm not sure. I don't live in the town with him. He loves the hats from me. So this was good practice, and I will finish it. This is the anemone hat. And you just make all these little, so they were really fun to learn. But I was striping mine, which was not a good plan, so I wouldn't recommend that, because the rows between are 2, you get 2 stripes in between, and I needed to do a full row to go, and because the bottom was striped, that was easy, and I thought, oh, I'll just keep going with the stripes. I thought that would be really fun to have them be in different colors. This one is, I'm knitting it out of Rowan wool and cotton, so it's a wool cotton blend. I thought it wouldn't be itchy on his ears, but it's turning out a little wild. My daughter, who keeps me in line, said, I don't know, Mom, it might be too much for him, but I said I would totally wear it, and she said yes, you would. So I recast it on, did a different iteration, tried to make it a little less wild. So I cast it on in this yarn, and I did a big brim, fold over brim ribbing, and then now I just started the little twists, and you do them every 3rd row, I think, all the way up, and they swirl a little bit, so you move over and do them. They're fun to make. They slow your row down a lot, but they're fun. They're not hard. I didn't find it difficult. To make them the same length, I have to start kind of using my finger, because your hands are kind of full when you're doing it. But it's anemone, and I will put that in the show notes, which happened down below in the bar. But if you're watching on your TV, that's a pain to look at. So also in the Ravelry group, the show notes are there. I always put all of your names in the Ravelry show notes. When I say hello, I type all of your names out. So somebody go out and look at those names, because every week as I'm typing them, I think, no one knows that I put these here. If I had your Ravelry names, I would tag you all, but I don't have your Ravelry names. I have your YouTube names, and that's not the same thing. But I do type them in every single week, because I want you to know that I'm saying hello to you, and I love having conversations with you. So anyway, I will put that out there. So now I have 2. Anemone hats, but kind of fun knits for gifts. And so I thought, if I'm going to do kind of a Christmas show, obviously I got too hot. My husband came in, the dog left, he ate lunch, I had to come back, so I had the change of costume here. Oops. And this is the Burberry inspired cowl. It's a really fun cabled cowl to knit. It's about this wide, and you do giant cable crosses, 1 in the middle and then 2 on either side, and then again 1 in the middle. So you get these big, huge cable crosses that happen, and then you Kitchener it when you're all done. I've made a ton of these because they kind of fold like an accordion because of that cable that's in there. I don't know why it's Burberry inspired. Most of the Burberry inspired stuff on Ravelry is the Burberry plaid, and this isn't, so I don't know if Burberry had a cowl at one time, and maybe that's why. It's a free pattern. Of course, she can't sell it because she has the word Burberry in it, and that would be, copyright all over the place. But yeah, so I have these in several colors. They're chunky or Aran, which is why I grabbed it off the shelf, because I thought, somebody could knit that up pretty quickly. You're going back and forth, you're making a tube, and then at the end you could 3 needle bind off. I've always Kitchenered. I started making these maybe 5 years ago, and I never have to look up the Kitchener stitch. again, after doing these, I think there's 60 stitches across maybe. And once you've done, several Kitcheners of these, the Kitchener stitch is in your brain forever and ever. And then this is a cowl that is, the mohair is all the craze. So this is the one I made myself for Christmas. I did mohair with sparkle and then lime green, but it's kind of olive green. Like this is lime and this is kind of olive. And when you're knitting it, I didn't pay that close of attention. I made my mom's out of red and white and it's darling. So you're just knitting a few rows in one color or purling, and then knitting a few rows in the mohair. And then it's a double long cowl. So I'll link that in the show notes as well. It is by, it's by my local yarn store owner who sold the yarn store. And you got it when you bought the purchase of the yarn, so I'm not sure it's available. And since she sold the yarn store, but if it's not, I will put the little instructions out there on my pattern page. So, because it's just cast on, it's a recipe. And so I don't think she would stress about that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about mittens because I was all ready to do a sweater and a shawl today, and they're over there, and they were gold and orange and yellow and blue, and it just it didn't feel like Christmas for the Christmas picture. And I had copied everything out, and I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, which usually is what I like to do. What are the things that I say about these things? I'm going into teaching mode. So I was walking back to put on my Christmas dress here, and I walked by my mitten tree, and I thought, oh, that's perfect. So here's my mitten tree. And I think I got this from Hearth and Home or Plow and Hearth or one of those. And it's for you to sit by your fireplace or, in front of a heat vent, and then you put socks or mittens on it so that they dry out. So if you have small children, when Kylie was little, we haven't always owned a house that had a electric fireplace like we have now. But I would set it over a vent, and they have little pegs on them so that you can slide them on, and they kind of holds them open, and things could drip off. You can move it around your house. But since I don't no longer have a small child, I just have pretty mittens on it that I just display at Christmas time, and I leave it up through January. So I went and printed out the mittens from the ones that are on my tree. And so I'm just going to go through them real quickly and share them. Mittens are one of my favorite things to knit. I kind of ran out of hands to give mittens to, and I have 20 pair maybe that I just love, and so displaying them became a way to kind of keep it special. So this is the first pair on the tree, and I have had a cream colored coat with brown and green bears on it. Remember those coats? Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're furry and they're kind of like a giant fleece, and they had brown and green bears. So I made these mittens, and of course the coat is long gone, but I now have kind of a cream colored fur coat, so I could get these back out and wear them. So they are all over color work, and the pattern is called 5-1 Mitten by Anna Zilborg. And Anna is a knitwear designer who taught a lot at Stitches events back in the day, and she wrote this book, Magnificent Mittens, which came out from the Stitches brand. Alex Xenakis is a photographer, and he was the editor of Knitters Magazine, which ironically moved to Sioux Falls, South Dakota many years ago. If you ever listen to the podcast that they had out, there was an audio podcast with Benjamin for a long time. And anyway, so they're out of Sioux Falls, which is my hometown. Of course, I was long gone when they were kind of there. But that's where this book came from, and it's lovely. It's got lovely, I'm sure you can probably get it used on Amazon or at your local used bookstore, maybe even in your library. There's some beautiful, it's kind of a coffee table book, I would say. Here's a great picture of some mitts. The big cuffs, So yeah, it's got some stories in it, some things to talk about. It's got charts for making all the different kinds of mitts. So if you wanted to just do the mitten part, you could. And then you could make a hat to match because the chart is there. So here are the ones that I made. There's that chart. But, you know, it's the book came out, let me look, 1998. So it's been around forever. I don't really remember. Mine's in pretty good shape when I picked it up, probably to make these mittens. But so there's one book that might be of interest to you if you like to do color work mittens, or you just like to look at beautiful patterns and charts. Okay, so the next one that are on the are these. They are almost always right up at the top. These are Kylie's mittens from when she was little. A moment. So they're called Heart Cables Mittens. The pattern was from Maggie's Rags. I don't know that pattern is still available, but there are probably other heart. Goes right up into the little heart, and it's just a cable across at the top to make them. So if you have children that you've knit mittens for and they lose one, then that's a way to use your mitten tree too, right? Lost socks and lost mittens. You can put just the one that you knit on there that they keep. I often see people on Instagram who say, so-and-so lost his hat or whatever, his mittens, one sock has gone missing. So you could just put it on the mitten tree for that. Okay, the next pair down are these roses, and they are called the Rose Pattern. And they have just a little bit of color work on them, like that. Kind of fun. And they're from this book. They're by Inger and Ingrid Gottfridsson. And this is the book, the mitten book. And there they are on the cover. I knit several mittens from this book back in the day. Here, I'm gonna go like this so you can kind of see all the different patterns on every page. They're charted, and you could just, I mean, what a great wealth of patterning, right? Delightful Swedish country mitten patterns with traditional designs to use for all your hand or machine knitting projects. That's what it's called. And I bought it for $8.95. It's just a little soft cover, and I don't know if there's a copyright date, but we'll look. It's by Lark Books. Oh, they're a craft company in North Carolina. So 1991. So it's a very old book on my shelf, and here they are, the little mitts that I made to match. Okay. The next pair on the tree are these. These are probably one of the most fun pairs to make. And these are by Lucy Meatby. Look at how fun that is. You just knit one, knit one, knit one, knit one in opposite colors on this side. And then on this side, you're doing this little star stitch. And I have a design in the works using this. Isn't that cute? Oh, so fun. So these are by, and I've seen them done with different colors of background color, but this is a kind of a variegated self-striping colorway. So I didn't do any of that, right? It was just in the skein, and that made it happen. Koigu Premium Merino, KPM, that's the yarn that I used. I bought 2 skeins. I think this was in a kit when Stitches Midwest came to Minneapolis many, many, many years ago. And they didn't get good enough attendance, so they moved to Chicago. Yeah, like 2000 and, let me think, 1 or 2, before we moved to Virginia and came back. But these are just really special. Okay? All right. Next. Look at these, have beads on them. So super fun. Purple mitt. Oh, that shows up really nicely, doesn't it? So plain mitt on one side, and then cable with beads in there. These are the Beaded Cable Mitts number 129 by Shirl the Pearl. And I made these out of Mission Falls 1824 wool, which is one of my favorites. Oh, if you ever see that anywhere in some yarn shop in the back room where yarn goes to die, grab it all. It's the best wool. It got discontinued. Mission Falls 1824. Oh, it was just, I have several things knit out of it. They've worn so well. Look at, there's like no pilling, nothing, right? Oh, they're so cute. So that's another favorite that goes on the mitten tree. Okay. And then this one, I'm wearing these right now. I took them off the tree because I have an orange coat, an orange wool winter coat. Of course I do. I got it on the clearance rack at Nordstrom's. Imagine that. No one wanted to buy an orange wool coat. There's a picture of me on Instagram in it. We put a little free library in. I think I've told you guys this, but my book club meets at my church. You don't have to be a member of my church, but there's a big room there. It's a, so I belong to the Lutheran church, and it's large, Minnesota Lutherans, Scandinavians, whatever. And so we meet there. So we put a little free library in, and I was kind of a driving factor getting that done and finding someone to build it and then painting it and getting a post put in and all that. So when it all got done, I took a picture standing in the snow. Terrible time of year to have the little free library finally get in the ground. But there's a picture of me and I'm in my bright orange coat in all my glory. So want to see my orange coat on me. But these came in a kit and they were in a linen box, and they are Phoebe Hat and Mitts by Swan's Island Company, and it was a kit that came from their All-American collection. There's the hat. I have the hat too. So I bought it as a kit, and it came in this linen box, that like a cigar box kind of, that opened up, and it had a picture of like a ship in the front, like a drawing, and then it had the skeins of yarn and the pattern. Oh, it was just a lovely. I've never seen anything so over the top kind of fancy. So these are, then I did Corey's 2-color cast on the bottom of these, which you all know how to do now, right? You've all gone on and learned that new thing. Before the end of the year, you need to learn something new, so when you take stock, you can say, the thing I learned this year, right? Isn't that a thing? So, Phoebe mitts and hat, they're fun. And of course, they were in my lovely colors. Okay, the last ones. Oh, I have another pair way down there, but I don't have a pattern for them. So, well, I'll show them to you anyway. Here, I'll grab them. I think these are just a plain mitt, which all of you can do in a heavier weight yarn. But then I got some of this yarn. You know what? You never really know what to do, that novelty yarn, or if you've got some really lumpy, bumpy hand spun that you don't know how to use, but because it was your first stuff, it's perfect on the cuffs of mitts. So those are really, really fun hair. But I don't have the pattern for that because I don't think it's a pattern. I think I just cast on, didn't do ribbing down here. Yeah, it's just knit and then went up. Okay, and then I have 2 more pair to share. These are the Poetry Mittens by Veronica Patterson and Jane Fournier, and they came out in Piecework magazine in 1995, and I printed the pattern and didn't knit them for years and years, and then I finally knit them up, and they have a poem on them. Isn't that cool? So let me see. I'll read it to you. This is what the mittens say. When snow swirls, we begin to dream of dancing firelight and hasten gaily home, clapping hands and words to warm them. So, really fun. A lot of people use this mitten pattern to write other words. There's a lot of charted letters in here, so you can chart your own words and kind of match the stitch count. And so a lot of people looked up special poetry or special sayings or things that they loved, and then put them in mittens for their loved ones. So it's a great thread to go out and look. There are several pages of patterns out there where people have put their words of comfort or love to someone. So I never wore these. I mean, they fit, but they are just for display. I love them. They're very long. They're very tall. They go up really quite high on my wrist, but they were fun to knit. The whole thing was just charted, and you just followed it right along, and then you had to get the thumb to go in there. So that was crazy. Okay, and then I have a couple more knitted books to show here, as well as a couple more pairs of mittens. Now, in order to not be offensive to anyone, or if you have small children, I'm going to cover up the naughty word that is on this mitten. But I knit these for my daughter when she was going to college in the middle of Iowa and was going to be out on the open prairie. It was just very flat, very small town, and I thought she would find it funny. Her mama can have kind of a potty mouth. I taught at-risk students for 17 years, and I heard it so often that sometimes, although I don't particularly love to swear, I do. So look away or mute the camera or whatever for the next 30 seconds, okay? So these are the Cold as F knits. It's a great little pattern. As soon as I saw them, I knew that it would be a great joke for Kylie. They're called How Cold Is It? And they are by Drunk Girl Designs. And they have an asterisk where the U is in the fire truck word, the word that starts with F and ends with K. Fire truck, that's what we say, right? And so here's the center. What they look like. They're striped on the center, and then you just do the words in. Some of you will think that this is hilarious, and some of you might be offended, which is not my intent, but I think they're funny. I told her, don't get in trouble wearing these anywhere where like someone might be like into your professor's office or something, like when she went to college, and now, you know, she's 23, she's a big girl, she can handle the occasional F word flying from her mother or someone else in the family. So anyway, let's just wrap up Christmas mittens on a sour note, Corey. Okay, here's another great mitten book, 18 Cool Patterns to Keep You Warm by Robin Hanson. This is an older book as well, but it is laid out really nicely, and I love the mitten patterns in this book. They're really cool. They're not the fingering weight version or the DK weight version of some of the color work mittens I showed you earlier, all that small. These are almost all more worsted. Well, now I can't find a page to open. So they're similar in look, but they don't have that going to take you forever to get them done concept, because they're not done on tiny little DPNs. Aren't those cute? Plain mittens and then embroidery at the cuff. Oh, there's nothing wrong with old books and old patterns. Go back. Instead of going to the front page of Ravelry all the time, go to page 10 and look. And then this is a newer book that I bought as a Christmas gift for someone, and then I got one too, and it's Knitted Mittens. Over 40 wearable designs inspired by the landscape, legends, and lasting traditions of northern Sweden. It's by Solveig Larsson, and it has, lovely patterns in it, charted patterns with pictures of all the different mittens, and then some pictures of actual northern Sweden. So there, I showed you 4 books. Some of you might ask, what happens in your mitten drawer if you have like a bin or something that you throw mittens in your back, your whatever back door in your garage or by your mudroom or wherever things go to land when you walk in. And I have a solution, an idea. So this is how we keep mittens in our mitten drawer at our house. This is an elastic hairband. This also works for socks when you're doing laundry. If kids can't keep socks together in their drawers, I'm a big proponent of organization and helping kids figure out how to keep things tidy. And so instead of folding socks, you can just throw these over the top, and then they stay in the drawer together, so that when the kid's searching, they go like this and all the socks get all mixed up. This helps to keep them together in the mitten drawer. And then, it's pretty easy to keep this either in the drawer or put it on your wrist when you wear them, whatever you want to do to keep the mittens together. So there's your tip or trick for today. I went back to grab Mittens out, and I was like, yeah, I still have elastic bands, even though there are only 2 adults living in this house right now. Still have elastic bands to keep the mittens together. I have these 2 pairs of mittens, which are some of the oldest mittens I have. They could be as old as 20 years old. I'm not exaggerating there. The reason that I love these mittens so much is because they're completely lined. So I took a mitten class where you knit the mitten, and then you picked up at the wrist 1 stitch in each of the stitches all the way around the wrist, and then knit the mitten up again, including the thumb. You knit the exact same mitten. You can do it on 1 size needle down if you're worried about your gauge being, and then you just tuck it in, so you don't do the cuff again. You pick it up at the top of the cuff, and then you stick it back in, and you have a fully lined double mitten. And these 2 pairs are the pair that both have that lining from the class that I took, and they're just the best. They're so warm. They fit so nicely. I think it was a worsted weight. I'm assuming that there's a pattern out on Ravelry for lined mittens, or a tutorial, so I'll look it up. I'm assuming you can go to YouTube. You can go to YouTube for everything. That's where I get a ton of information. I'm writing a new class right now, and a pattern for this, something coming out in February, and I spent most of the day yesterday doing research, and I can't even tell you how much information I found on YouTube from knitters. It was just great. So I'm sure you could look at how to line a mitten. You can also do it with fleece or with a liner, but these were really fun to knit. I really enjoyed learning how to do that. It was an interesting technique, so I would highly recommend lining your mitts. Okay, there we go. I am going to share our Christmas stockings this week. Someone on last week's episode said something about our Christmas stockings, and they're a bit of a story in themselves. But if you've never knit a sock, this is the best way to start knitting socks. So these are our Christmas stockings. This is a pattern that I designed when we lived in Virginia, and I taught knitted Christmas stocking class, and it has charts, lots of charts to do anything that you want on the leg of your stocking, but you cast them on, cuff down, you knit and stripe however you want to do it, and then you learn how to do a heel flap, and then turn the heel for the gusset, and then go down, and then do the decreases for the toe. And so these have been in our family for, I made Kylie's. I think Ross and I had them before Kylie was born, and then I added hers. I made mine with brown sheep, just woolly wool, kind of a hardy wool. They're a little itchy. They're not lined. I do not put big presents. I just put small presents in these, and then the names are duplicate stitched on, and I only have them on one side. So Kylie has wreaths and flowers and a little checkerboard. Ross has, there's a present in Ross's already, I can feel it. He's got a little cabin and trees. Cody has a bone and some paws. So this one was made much later because we've only had him for 9 years. We had a previous puppy. I might have torn out the previous dog's name. I don't remember if I did that or not. So anyway, but mine is the funniest because, and once you see it, you'll never not be able to unsee it. But mine is hearts and then flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz. Isn't that what it looks like? I know they're supposed to be angels, but come on. And now it just makes me laugh, right? Like I could have put anything. I have tons of charts. I could have put anything in there. But when I knitted, I knew they were angels, right? They are angels, but they're also flying monkeys. So there are the Christmas stockings. That pattern is not up on Ravelry because when I had difficulty, I didn't have charting software at the time. And so the charts need to be made, and I keep designing, and it keeps being put on the bottom of the stack of things that need to be done. So the charts have not been made, but they will be made at some point. Maybe that will be on my goal. Maybe one of you could take it upon yourselves to be a gentle reminder on my shoulder that you would like to knit these Christmas stockings if I would get those charts done and put the pattern back up on Ravelry. I don't know. I just took on, you know how I was telling you I have all these patterns. I just took on a big project for February with a group of other designers. So now, deadline, can't back out. Got to get it done. Spent all day yesterday writing my pattern. Now I got to knit it. And I still have 3 presents to finish for Christmas. I got to just finish the tops of those hats, right? Like, that's okay. And then I got to knit one for Kylie's boyfriend because every time I see him, he's got the hat on that I knit him last year. Every time. So I thought, I'll knit him another hat, right? I have yarn. It's wound up. I'm using Kelborn Woolens, their new Lucky Tweed. It's just lovely. It's soft. It's got a nice palette, not 100 colors, you know, and hard to find because it's been so popular that yarn stores are running out of it. But my local yarn store, Lakeside Yarn, has it, and Bee Woolen up north has it. But a lot of yarn stores are waiting to get it because the shipping has been slow because they've sold so much of it. So if you haven't taken a look that's like a turducken. On the Food Network, I saw that show the other day, the turducken. Okay, chicken, turkey, duck, if you haven't seen it, inside joke. So, yeah, check out Kelborn Woolen's Lucky Tweed. They've got their colorways online. It's beautiful. That's what I'm designing the thing in for February, which is another hint or tip, whatever. I'm back several minutes later, and you know, things happen at home, so you gotta go do some things. And where did I put my red cowl? Where is my cowl? I can't find it. I just had it. Oh, screw it. I'm putting on my white scarf. Oh, sweet Lord. Get me through the holidays in one piece. The other day, I went to the post office to mail a letter to England and to buy 2 books of stamps for my mother-in-law's 90th birthday party tomorrow. She wants Chex Mix and stamps. I can handle that, right? Leave the post office, get in the car, drive to the gas station. So I'm going to get a fountain pop. Forgot the stamps. Go to the gas station, get a fountain pop, come out, going back to the post office. Forgot the Chex Mix. I am not fully engaged. I'm only thinking about the thing that I have to do for the next day, and I'm missing things because my mind is just, so many of you know where I'm coming from. So tell me the thing you forgot to do this week because I'll feel so much better. So then I went to the other gas station in town so I didn't have to go back to the first gas station because I had to go back to the post office and say, I forgot to buy 2 books of stamps. And they always ask when you're leaving, do you need any stamps today? But they were so busy I had to wait in line to mail my card to London, England. So I got her 2 bags of Chex Mix. That's what she wanted. She's in the nursing home, so it's really hard for her to have stuff or to get presents. So consumables are good, right? She told Kylie to buy her a fruitcake. So Kylie did that. And we're having Christmas with my husband's side of the family and her tomorrow. And so, you know, it was her birthday, 90th birthday yesterday. They sang her happy birthday at the home, and she got a present, and some other family members went to visit, and then we'll all see her tomorrow. She's so sharp. She still has, you know, all of her mental faculties, and yeah. So anyway, it's been, you know, a little scattered. So losing the cowl, not a big deal. Don't you think it looks cute with white scarf. It's costume change. Think of it as the Academy Awards. Oh, if you don't laugh at yourself, you wouldn't get anything done all day. So, here's your Corey stories for this week. I decided 6 weeks ago that I was going to craft a project for my friends for Christmas. I have 8 knitting friends who are really close to me. We go to knitting events together. We talk on the text all the time, constant interaction. If someone can't, talk for a couple days, it's fine, but there's somebody's always chatting. So you feel connected, and we celebrate birthdays in this group. We travel together. Anyway, so I was like, I'm going to make these for these 8 people. I can't make them for all the knitters that come to my house. I got them. Oh, I should show those. Okay, I will get up again in a bit and show you. Maybe I should just tell you because I might forget. On sale last year after Christmas, Love Your Melon, the hat company, had red Christmas balls with knitted hats on them. I got them on clearance, and I bought a huge box of them. So I had Christmas presents this year. When we went down to get the Christmas boxes, I was like, what's this giant blue box? I opened it up and I was so happy with past Corey. I was like, you were so smart to get all of that. So I got gift bags and I put them all in. And then on Tuesday, the knitters came and I gave, 7 or 8 knitters their little ornaments. We had lunch. It was great. And then on Thursday, I had the big group of knitters here. It's, people are bringing food. I just supply the space, and people are bringing food, and, pots of soup are coming in and salads. It gets a little crazy. And so we sit in it for a few minutes, and then we're serving food, and and then everyone's leaving, and I'm saying goodbye to the last 4 people, and I turn and look, and there are all the gift bags with the ornaments in them. And they were under the tree. They were pulled out, but they were under the tree, and things were crazy, and I didn't have them by the front door, so I went running out my stocking feet to the 4 people who were getting in their cars, and I said, "You're not going home without your Christmas ornament." And the rest of them will get them at knitting next week. But come on, 4 parties, 1 week, not enough weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. And now, another gathering tomorrow, gathering Monday, gathering Tuesday, gathering next Saturday. So it just that everything got compacted, and you all understand that. And it's been fun. I'm not the kind of person who is like, oh, this didn't, go perfectly as planned. That's fine with me. Obviously, things have not gone perfectly as planned. This is the craft that I was going to make for everyone for Christmas. Isn't that darling? So I think it was Creative Cece on Instagram who was at a yarn store where they had a big shadow box, and they had big balls of yarn, and then they had this on the front. And she took a picture and posted it on Instagram months ago. And I took a picture of her post and was like, oh, that would be so fun, right? Buy some shadow boxes and then take my scrap yarns and wind them into balls and find letters. So I have a neighbor who used to live just a few houses down. They moved to California, but she did this vinyl lettering stuff. She had the machine, whatever you need to do the different vinyl lettering, and she would make gifts for people and sell some of that stuff. So I just texted her and I said, hey, Molly, I need 9 in case of emergency break glass. And so we kind of went back and forth, and she was like, yeah, I can absolutely do that for you. What color do you want? She's like, oh, I'm out of red vinyl. I will have to order. It's going to take a little bit, but once I get it in. Then once she got it in, she was like, what size letters do you want? And I was like, well, I was going to do 5x7 boxes, shadow boxes. And she said, I don't think I can scrunch the letters down that far, because in case of emergency, break glass in 2 lines is going to be pretty small then. It would be better, and the letters, the letters can't get too thin, because you peel them off and then you stick them down and then you peel off that other layer. And so I said, okay, no problem. I'll do 8x10s. Then I'm stocking Michael's and Joann's for the coupons for when the shadow boxes go on sale. So they had packs of 3 for like $24.99, and then they were marked down by 50%, and then I had a clearance coupon. So I ended up getting these shadow boxes for less money, because I needed 9 shadow boxes and I couldn't spend $25 on each shadow box and have the letters done and do, the yarn. I just thought, okay. So I start winding balls about 2 weeks ago, maybe. I'm winding balls and the letters have come and the frames are here, but nothing's been put together. Nothing's been put together. Doing the letters, there was a little learning curve. My first ones were crooked and didn't peel off very well. And so that one's mine. And then I got all the rest of the letters put on. Taking the backs off this stuff, you need a tool to bend those things up. And then if your balls aren't just the right size, they can only be that thick. So your balls have to be small. So I'm making balls for several days. I'm making balls and I'm throwing them in a jar. But after I throw the first couple in, I'm like, boy, that end is going to stick out. That's going to bug me. So I got out a chibi needle and I anchored each end with a chibi needle. And so I'm pushing it through, and then I'm making balls, and I'm trying to decide sparkle or no sparkle. And I get like a half a jar of balls, made. And Kylie comes home 2 days later, and I've been winding, and my thumb is so sore from winding, because you're holding like a little thing, and then you're turning it and holding it. It's very meticulous, small work that I didn't anticipate at all. So my thumb was hurting. She's like, okay, Mom, tomorrow I'll help you. I'll make balls, and you can stick the things through. So Kylie spends a night here. She's helping me because my back. Anyway, you don't need to know about that part. I'm having back trouble. I have a procedure coming up that hopefully is going to fix it at the end of the month. Anyway, so she's helping at home. She's come home, she's staying, and she's helping me wind balls. And we start to realize that if we are going to fill 8 to 10 picture frame shadow boxes, we need thousands of balls, hundreds. And we've made hundreds of balls, tens. And she says to me finally, Mom, like, are you okay with these not going out before Christmas? I'm like, no, darn it. I want these to go out. I'm like, we won't fill it all the way full. Like, we'll just fill it, part way. And so we fill the first, we've done balls for 3 days, and we fill half of 3 picture frames. A couple a little more than this. And I said, I'll never wind enough. Like, my hands are hurting. You're not going to be here. We're leaving. I have 4 parties next week. So then I said, I'll have to put mini skeins in them, right? I'll put mini skeins in. And she says to me, in all her ignorance, Mom, there's no way you have enough mini skeins to fill these. Wrong. So I go and we're digging in mini skeins, and we're kind of like trying to find coordinating colors and mini skein packs, and some of the little ones didn't look right and the big ones looked great, but I didn't have as many of those. And so we figured it out. We got 8 picture frames filled with yarn, which it really didn't matter, but the original picture had all these little balls. And I have a 3-tiered basket right over there, like a bamboo basket like you'd see at a yarn store. And it's full of scraps. And so in my mind, I was thinking I can make these big balls because the shadow boxes are going to be this thick. And I'll use up all this yarn. It'll be, fun. And then Kylie is trying to use a scissors to push these back down, and some of the balls are too big. So you're really pushing the back on to get it underneath these. And she slips and she goes right up into her thumb, under the thumbnail. There. Blood, she's fine, but like, she's like, Mom, blood, sweat, and tears. I'm giving you blood, sweat, and tears to make these. So they went in the mail. One has arrived, and that person has gotten in touch and said that they love it. And then I got to tell her the story. I got to say, well, let me tell you. Yours doesn't look like everyone else's, and not everyone else has gotten theirs yet. But the reason for that is I really struggled to get the letters on. The shadow boxes were too narrow. The balls were too big. You can't wind 1,000 mini balls, but I have 2 shadow boxes left over that are empty that don't have anything in them. And I said to this person, I said, you know what you could do? You could put coffee beans in this. You could put chocolate in this. You could put money or a few dollars in it and send it off in a smaller version with your kid to college. It's a great, you could reuse it. You could, it could become the gay gift. Somebody has to put something funny in it every year and bring it back, just funny stuff. So it's a great idea. I did go out to Etsy and find that there are several vendors who sell these letters in case of emergency break class. And you can get the letters anywhere from about $5 to $6.50 in the color of your choice and in the size that you want. So each set of letters you could have, could be blue or white or silver or gold, whatever. And Molly had an Etsy shop for a while, and she had felted ball decorations and things like that. But I'm not going to send everyone her way because it was kind of a scramble and a bit of a. And I sent her the picture of everyone's. So I'm going to show you what the rest of them looked like because they're in the mail. And by the time this goes live, I do think that everyone will have received theirs, and at that point, it doesn't really matter, right? So here are the 8 we made, and then there's the one with the balls, and there's one with mini skeins. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, here's the minis. So they look cute laying in there. And then I used one of the 1-row yarns pockets for another friend who I'm going to see for dinner coming up here. And then this one is Matt's because I did all the dark colors because he loves all the darks, right? And this one, I have one for Amber and one for Renee in the kind of pinks and purples. And then there were 3 that had balls in them. So anyway, I may not be the most organized, the most disciplined, the most remembering, non-forgetful person in the world, but my heart is in the right place. I'm a huge gifter. That's my love language. I see stuff for people. We've talked about this before, and I think they should have it, so I buy it for them. So giving gifts is just helps me spread joy. I'm giving some really funny gag gifts this year to people in my life who I think will really enjoy it. And that was the saga of the craft that didn't get done. You start in July or September, right? For sure, you just get started. You have the idea and then you get on it right away. You don't leave it until the week before you have 4 parties at your house. So some of you can go out and have one of these made, right? Set it in your craft room, hang it on the wall, give it to your yarn store owner. I thought that would be really fun. That would be a cute idea, right? To give one to your yarn store owner. So anyway, I just thought that I would share that with you. I'm going to do the hellos today. I have a few people to chat with. Peg Organ, Rebecca Knutson, Olivia Mankey, Pat Wagner, Helen Paxford, Janet Robertson, who wrote me 4 messages this week. Carla, hi Carla. We got to figure out that you can do a blanket. We just got to figure out which kind of blanket you can do. Glenda Bathgate, Laura Hickman, Chris S., Cindy Bouchite, Andrea Rivera, Barb Christensen, hi Barb, who wrote me about not putting out her Santa collection. PJ Knits, hey PJ, Melinda Zaccardi Rousseau, PJ of Knitting with Quills podcast, Astrid Hermanis, Stacy Fleichner, who is from Queensland, Australia, and is having a warm Christmas. We went back and forth. I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine Christmas in the summertime. And I'm sure if you grow up with it, it's perfectly normal for you. Kelly M. Hey, Kelly. Beverly Fouth. Emma Butcher. Hi, Emma. Jessie's Mom 12. Julie Smith. Stephanie Haberman wrote me that Sylvia Harding's Mobius Harmonious Rings cowl from last week is also a sweater, and yes it is, and yes I do have it in my queue. She did the Mobius at the top and then added a body and sleeves to it, so if you are really interested in that concept, that might be something you want to go out and look at. Judy B, Penny, Amy Blandford, Charlene Richards, Angela Jenkins, 3-Ply Podcast, Irene. Did you see those ladies in their 3 Santa hats? Darling. But next year they need to be pink. Michelle, Knit Takes 2. Michelle, you wrote me a really nice note this week about Christmas. It was really nice. Rita, you and I have had a little communication back and forth, and I'm thinking of you. Yolanda, from the East Netherlands. I have a knitter in my group who just left for the Netherlands on Friday, Hilka, and I told Yolanda, who has a podcast, Sweet Kitty Crafts, and she has 3 cats, I think, but one is a grumpy cat. So go over and watch the last and the second to last podcast, because that white cat looks really grumpy, even though her podcast is called Sweet Kitty Knits. So hi Yolanda, Suzanne Selby, Lisa Smith, Rachel Weisenstein, Dawn Overholt, Debbie M, Rula Tornariti. I wish I could say, like, you know, to each and every one of you, I just try to remember who you all are and what, you know, the special moment when you've written me and I've responded. It just means a lot, and I'm such a people person that I really want a connection, and I'm talking to an iPad. So, you know, this is as good as it gets. It's just me saying hello at the end of every podcast. So I hope that you all have just the merriest, happiest holidays, that things go smoothly and calmly for you, and if the holidays are not a good time of year for you, I hope that they go quickly. They always go quickly for me. We will be seeing both sides of the family. My husband's side, who he has one brother and a sister, and his, you know, mom, who's still with us, which is amazing at 90. You know, she played bingo yesterday, and they sang to her, and she was tickled. So she just has had such a wonderful life. And then we'll see my parents. We're going there on Monday. And then we have to watch the Vikings game Monday night. Dad, I called my dad. I said, Dad, I'm calling because I want to make a date with you while I'm home. He said, okay, what do we need to do? I said, wear purple. He said, okay. And then he said, oh, Corey. I said, yeah, we'll be there in time for the game. He said, okay. He's a big fan too, of the Vikings. So, and then we will spend Christmas Eve day with that family, and then we will drive back here Christmas night as Kylie and Stevie go off with Stevie's family for Christmas, and then we will celebrate with them next weekend. They're cooking dinner, so that will be just really nice. And by then all the Christmas knitting will be done, and I can start some other knitting. So I just have enjoyed this year with all of you, and at this time of year, when you think about going into a new decade, I think it's just a really special time. So love on one another. Keep it colorful. Yellow bananas. waddle on. We have lots of memories together, don't we?